Hi, my name is Barry Sterling Mitchell. I produce the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings and the Bias Plus reports. And this is Ben and Barry on football with our Thursday night NFL special.
Yes, the Thursday night special is really special. I'm Ben Dickerson. I'm your co host. And my team, the New York Football Giants, are playing Barry's team, the San Francisco 49ers. That's what makes it special.
And if I had really had my act together, I'd have all my Niner gear on right now.
Ah,
You know what I mean? It's like,
right.
dude,
That's okay.
you know, that's okay. They know up under this shirt beats a 49er heart. The little heart shape for this is shaped in a 49s,
Right. I got you. I
You
got
got me. You got what I'm trying to say. You got what I'm trying to say. So, all right. Well, let's start out with the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings, which is kind of where we start any discussion and analysis. Let's see what they've actually done, though, these two teams. All right, we have the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings through week 2 of 2023 to 2024 average net points. Now, ANP stands for average net points. That is the difference between the points scored and the points given up. And there's no doubt about it. We can see who's number one is out to just a tremendous start in terms of points, and that's Dallas. But right behind Dallas is San Francisco, averaging about half the points. 15 versus 30. But then that pretty much sets the tone for the rest of the league, and especially in the top half as you go down the list there from 15 down to Washington, which is +3. And again, net points is a plus or a minus. If you look on the other column, you'll see those teams that are in the minus. Speaking of minus, Benny, let's see. There's your New York Giants. Now, Ben, I'm telling everybody right now, watch out for the skew with Dallas, okay? Because that's all the net point numbers are going to be, skewed up because of, the way that it worked. But again, your team, having been down minus 40 in that first game, now are only down minus 18 and a half. That's a big move. That's chopping that tree in half in one game.
There's a
So
really big tree.
it's a really big tree. Yeah, It don't see again, these are averages. So nothing happens, boom, boom. You know what I mean? Now we could look at it the one week, but it happens. So 15 is modest for my Niners. 18 and a half is a vast improvement for your Giants, who seem to be, let's get this act together. But Benny, you're missing a link, I think, or a big piece of your offense. What's the deal with Saquon Barkley?
Well, trying to keep up with stuff like that. Number one, because the Giants are my team and I'm very interested. And number two, because of fantasy. Not just for me, but people I play with, people that ask me questions in reference to fantasy who perhaps may have Saquon Barkley on their team. It's an ankle injury, first of all. I don't think there's any real structural damage, like his leg didn't get broken or anything like that. There's no torn ligaments or anything, but basically, it's a bad sprain. Originally, they said a couple of weeks. No, originally, they actually said 3 weeks. Interviews this week with the head coach, he's kind of intimated that he's not completely out of it, that there's a possibility that he may be ready to play.
This
I don't
like tonight?
like tonight. Personally, I don't believe that. But supposedly, and this could just be, you know, the only thing that teams have to do is they have to give each player a designation. You know what I mean? Questionable, doubtful, active, inactive, something like that. So I believe he's already got the questionable tag on him. So at that point, if the coach wants to be a little, you know, fuzzy with it to affect the other team and says, oh, he's feeling a lot better. He's been getting treatment. I'm not going to rule him out for this game. You know, that's
Yeah.
something that
Now,
he may want to say.
help me out a little bit here with this. I keep hearing about the difference between a high ankle sprain, I guess, and a low ankle sprain, or not
Right.
high ankle sprain.
Right.
Can you help eliminate what that difference is?
Well, supposedly, and I wouldn't know because I never had one, but from what everything I've heard, a high ankle sprain is much worse. I would think a high ankle sprain would kind of take into account your Achilles tendon and possibly the lower part of your calf, where a low ankle sprain is basically the joint that connects your foot to your leg. That's the best explanation I can give you without looking it up.
All right, Doc. Well, that at least that gives me a little bit better idea. Let's do a quick move through so we can again get some perspective on our two teams tonight. Let's look at the scoring. Okay, so your Dallas Cowboys again averaging now 35 points, so they moved down a little bit. My Niners are in third place. Strangely enough, and we're going to talk about this in the largest show, the Bias Plus, when we get to the Bias Plus report. But look at Green Bay putting up 31 points a game. That is interesting. But the Niners and Niners East, Miami, both putting up 30 points a game. Now, as we look down, your Giants moved from 0 to 15 and a half points per game right there. So, again, that means that you guys scored probably twice that much, somewhere close to twice that much than average.
Yeah, 31 to be exact.
There you go. To get to 15 and a half for the average on 2 games. So there you go with that. And then defensively, well, again, Dallas, looking good. APA, average points against. Cleveland at number 3. San Francisco with giving up 15 points a game. Your Giants now, the skew is in, even though you guys did. How many points did you give up in this past game? 17, 18, something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
You got 34 on average for the 2 games, so you're somewhere in that range.
Something along those lines.
Which is good. I mean, if you're giving up 17, you're in the range, you're better than Jacksonville, on average. They're averaging, but as far as that one game is concerned, 17, 16, 15.
They gave up 28.
Gave up 28. Okay. Well, I guess that's how they're averaging 34. Yeah, I forgot the first one was 40, 28. Okay. Anywho, got some work to do relative to defense. And then turnover differential, which we always include, average turnover differential. Niners are 5th, tied with Jacksonville, Green Bay, and Seattle at 1.5. That's plus 1.5 average turnover differential per game. So that means we're taking it away an average of 1.5 times more than we give it away. So even if we give away 3, if we take it away 4.5, it's 1.5 average on the plus side. Your Giants are now -2. I don't think you didn't look at turnover prone in that second game at all. I don't remember a lot of turnovers.
No, I'm pretty sure both were in the other game, in the first game. Against Dallas.
So if you had a clean game, that's even better, in your second game. When we call first 4 games of the season average, the second preseason in any event. So, I think it's funny, we just call it that. It seems natural, but I hear all these media people seem like they're struggling with how to call the first few games of the season. It's like
they don't want to do it, okay, because they already have issues with the preseason. Mm-hmm. Okay. But I have heard it said almost the exact way we say it.
Oh, really?
Okay. Yeah, but you can tell they're fighting against saying it's actually an extended preseason. Like they don't want to say it.
Right.
But exactly. They know the NFL has issues with this preseason. Don't be surprised if this thing gets changed again. And if it doesn't, don't be surprised if you see more teams begin to play their starters in at least the second and the third game, both, if not all 3. I don't tell you the truth. I don't see any reason why your starters can't start every preseason game. First game, they play 2 series. Second game, they play first quarter. Third game, they play half. They wouldn't have all these problems they're having.
I mean, really, it makes sense. And I understand. The funny thing is how the fear of injury is affecting everything, contracts, on all types of decisions. And
Look at Joe Burrow, for instance. He's hurt again, believe it or not. He re-aggravated that calf injury. So keeping him out all that time, even if he didn't have the injury, he probably would have played little to none in the preseason. And he's struggling away.
So, I mean, that's a part of it. And so when you get a team like, let's say, Dallas and the Niners, who are coming out of the block, looking pretty like, they're beyond the preseason in performance. And you have other teams, and I think I'm thinking about the Steelers, who absolutely looked like they were ready based on the preseason, and then came out in the first game and looked disheveled, just didn't look like they were, like as good as they did during the preseason. Now again, you're not playing second, third stringers, et cetera, but that step up seemed to have really affected them. Now they came back and played pretty good in the second game, you know what I mean? But the challenge is there for them. Let's take a quick look, Benny, at the matchup itself in terms of, so we're going to take those numbers that we just showed you for the net points and average turnover differential. We're going to put them together, and we're going to come up with what we call a bias plus score. And that bias plus is 49.5 favoring the San Francisco 49ers. Now, again, I warn my Niners, beware of the skew, because the skew is in effect for the bias plus. We realize that. I realize that. You'll see when we go to part of the show, Benny, where we look at our page, what happens when people try to use the differential. It does spark some weird conversation for people who only operate out of the differential like we do. But
freaks them out.
Tell me about it. New York Giants and you guys are traveling in the other direction, which you never said was a negative if you're going East Coast to West Coast, right?
Right.
Okay. I think it affects a team a little bit in any event because it's the time change messes people up in general. They might be okay, but that time change can mess you up a little bit. Bias plus is 49.5 favoring the 49ers. Let's start with some brain trust conversation real quick, okay? So, your Giants, your general manager is
Joe Schoen.
Okay, Shane. All right, and my general manager is Lynch. What do you think about the two GMs in general? If you were to compare them,
I mean, they've both been successful. Shane was very successful when he was with the Buffalo Bills. He's brought some of that success over to the Giants, although he's still a little fresh and new over there, but they've improved since he's been there. John Lynch, who was a player and who is, in fact, a Hall of Fame player, and really good players don't always do really well in upper management jobs, but John Lynch seems to have done pretty well by the Niners. They've had good drafts. They've made some good trades. They have one glaring mark on their record, and that's Trey Lance. But other than that, I can't really say anything bad about it.
Niners East is feasting off previous picks, especially in the running back range. They're over there with Miami with Mostert, like just running all over the place. So yeah, he's got a good history. They've got a good history. You already talked about their ability to pick running backs. Now, I've questioned especially my coaches, Shanahan's taste in quarterbacks. Not that I don't like Purdy, but for some reason he keeps getting associated with Kirk Cousins, who, by the way, is, they're talking about Kirk Cousins potentially going to the Jets if things don't work out for the Vikings in this next game. So that's another conversation. But bias plus score, 49.5 favors the Niners. What's your take on this, Benny? You get to say.
So I like to look at last week's games before I make my decision. This is a home game for the 49ers. They play host to my Giants, this time at their own stadium after their fans made the game last week against the Rams at SoFi, a home game.
Yeah.
Did you watch? Did you see how much red was in the stands?
Yeah. Yeah.
At first, I wasn't really paying attention until I noticed that when the Rams had the ball, the crowd was really loud. And then I was like, what the heck? Then I looked at the shots that showed the stands. It was all Niners fans. I couldn't find a blue jersey in the bunch.
Oh my goodness.
It's crazy, man. They took that stadium over. I'm telling you. And Niners fans travel well anyway. But a little romp over to LA is no big deal. Well, they just got to go over the bridge.
You know, it's funny. We talk about, let's say, the New York battles or the Jersey battles, even the Florida battles. We don't talk about the California battles too often in terms of in the same state. You know what I mean? Those types.
Yeah.
Of
Yeah.
So, interesting point that you made there, man.
Yeah, they took that game over. But anyway,
this is our first home game of the season, too.
Yes. You
I
started
was
off
looking at the stats,
row,
and I was like, they had like a dash in there for the home scoring and the home defense. I'm like, why is it a dash? Oh, we haven't been home yet.
Yeah, remember last 2 weeks ago, I talked about you guys having some tricky stuff going on in your schedule.
Right.
Home games and Thursday nights and stuff like that, Monday nights, all that, guys coming off the bye, all that stuff. So your schedule is kind of funny like that. And that's you've gotten over the first hump, which was the 2 road games to start the season off.
And especially with that surprise with the Rams. And, you know, you think based on what they did last year that the Rams are, you know, going to come out and not look that great. And the Rams come out and beat a division opponent who was the team that we thought was going to come out and look great.
The Rams are tricky. They're not the only ones, but yeah.
Man.
So anyhow, their offense was extremely balanced. Running back Christian McCaffrey had a great day, a really strong day on the ground, just like he did the week before. 20 carries, 116 yards, and a touchdown. A lot of people thought his 20 carry days were over, but they obviously are not. The man is in shape, and he's healthy, and I expect him to keep playing strong just like that.
Can I say something real quick on that?
Yeah, sure.
Number one, like I said, I gave kudos to Ayuk for a pancake block on that long touchdown.
Nice block. Yes.
Oh, my goodness. I was loving it. But this is something that, and I don't know if it was you that posted this or Donald Black, my nephew, who posts a lot of sports stuff, showing video of Sweetness throwing touchdowns, throwing the ball. It must not have been you then. So
no, it wasn't me, but McCaffrey can do that too.
And my mention or my comment to his video is we need to do that more often. We need to just have that in the game, you know.
I know it's in his repertoire. You just haven't seen it yet. He's going to pull it out.
Like I think it was last year. I think he threw 1 touchdown, and it was obvious he could throw. And you even, you know, I said even in terms of our Super Bowl loss, just put McCaffrey in and let him play quarterback, run the Wildcat or whatever you got to do, you know, rather than or give it to, you know, let Purdy take the snap. He was capable of doing that, and just let him pitch it to McCaffrey, and then let McCaffrey quarterback him.
Okay, now you're talking flag football strategy.
There you go. Ain't nothing wrong with a little flag in there, man. Right? Ain't nothing wrong with a little flag. Come on now, Mr. Flag. You know. Matter of fact, they had a little video of a little kid. That's what they did. Guy took the snap, flipped it to another little kid. He juked out about 8 kids, ran for a touchdown. This is what they're showing on the NFL channel now. So they're supporting flag big time.
Yeah, especially for kids. They really are. And that's a good thing. So that's a good thing because, you know, there's a lot of parents out there who love the game. The kids love the game, but they're afraid to let them put pads on. So they're trying to pump flag up so they can get that football experience without having to worry about, you know, any bad injuries or concussions.
Now the only thing about that is that you've got kids who are basically going to be linemen in their life. And I know they can play flag, but I don't know, they're
You
not.
won't see many of them.
You won't see many. So it was almost like I remember when Christopher was at Roxborough and coming into high school, he had played from the age of like 6 or 7 in the pound, leagues and with the Oakland Wildcats, 65 pounds, 75 pound, 90 pound, 105, 125. No, I don't know if he went to 125. That was high school. But you can see how he moved up in progression and had so much experience playing the game. Then he went to Roxborough, and their linemen, many of those guys, have really never played any ball. So
Right.
their ability to really block, and everything was, man, that was a training, excruciating, piece of growth that they had to go through because
They pretty much had to learn from scratch, same as I did when, back when I first got to high school, we didn't have no little league teams, not West Philly anyway.
Okay.
So the lineman was the coach just walked the hallways and grabbed every big guy he saw.
That's one way to do it.
Yeah.
Way to do it.
Told him to show up, and then you had a bunch of guys that he asked to come out, and you had a bunch of guys who came out because they wanted to, and out of that group, he had to come up with linemen.
Oh, there you go.
So
good story. When you're right about no leagues, and I don't know if there was any in North Philly when I was there at St. Elizabeth, but we had the CYO Catholic Youth Organization, so we had a football league, and I was a quarterback in 6th grade. Had no clue, right? But I'm the quarterback, and then we're at a game, and the quarterback that's out there gets hurt, and he tells me, Mitchell, go in the game. So I go in the game, and I call a play, and everybody on the team said, "We ain't running that. Get out of here." we had a mutiny in the huddle. The coach is like, "Mitchell, come out, come out."
You just got there and you had a mutiny.
The guy that was in there was in 8th grade. 2 years back then was like a light year difference. Right. I had never even been in the game. Even in practice, I was on the line. I don't know what I was doing at quarterback, So it was just, we had a mutiny then. They kicked me. And I was trying to call him. They're like, get out of here. You don't know what you're doing.
Wow.
So, okay, back to the New York Giants at the San Francisco 49ers. Who you got?
So, again, Niners
go ahead.
playing the Rams.
Had some stuff you was telling us.
Defense only scored or only allowed 6 points in the second half of that game. The Rams were able to get 2 field goals, but other than that, they weren't able to get much offense generated in the second half. The Niners won the game comfortably, 30-23, but they did have an issue keeping tabs on Rams wide receiver Puka Nacua, as I warned you they would.
Puka Nacua is all the rage on Good Morning Football now.
As he should be.
They can't say his name enough.
As he should be.
And he's got a family. He's
a phenomenon. He's a phenomenon. There's no doubt about it.
No, he's got family too. Other Nacuas. There are other Nacuas who have played football at a high level.
That's cool.
Yeah. Matter of fact,
anyway,
one of them I think played with Jason McCourty.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So week 1, my Giants got destroyed by the Cowboys. Everybody knows that. But like I said, after that game, they have nowhere to go but up. They got off to a slow start in Arizona. They weren't able to score a point in the first half. I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, here we go again. And then they got refocused in the second half, and they came out and scored a whopping 31 points. They pulled out the victory 31-28. Daniel Jones threw for 321 yards and 2 touchdowns. And he also combined with Saquon Barkley for 122 yards on the ground. Let's not forget, I have a dual threat quarterback. He scored a touchdown on the ground, and so did Barkley. Now, coming into this game, first of all, they have to travel to the West Coast. Second of all, I do not think Barkley is going to play no matter what the coach says. No. If he does, he'll be compromised. I don't think that's a good idea. I think they should let him sit out this game. Putting the game plan together for this 49er defense is going to be tough, but I saw some bright, shining moments from my rookie wide receiver, Jalen Hyatt. Remains to be seen who will carry the ball in place of Barkley, but I expect Daniel Jones will add on to the running game. And I believe that they have enough to give the Niners a game. I really think it's going to be a game. But I don't see the Giants being able to beat them. I really don't. So I'm going to go with the Niners to win this one and go with the bias.
Now, see, that's a real football guy right there. He's giving you a real football answer. And it's funny. I talked to our friend Mark Russell today. He's like, it's going to be a walkover. I'm like, I don't see that. I don't see that. Number one, our history against the Giants is always weird. The Giants are always weird, man. It's just, what was that? The extra point or whatever with the penalties and the craziness that's going on between the Niners and the Giants. It's going to be interesting to see my line hold up, against your rush. How's what's his name? Your rookie edge rusher. The guy.
He's okay. He's okay, but my left tackle's injured.
Okay.
That's another, that's something else they have to worry about. Matter of fact, it's the left tackle that's injured, so that means Mr. Bosa will probably be meeting Mr. Jones for lunch quite a few times.
Right.
Oh my God.
Well, if he plays true option, he'll be reading Bosa. It'll be like, if he goes this way, you go that way. If he goes this way, you go that way.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like they don't know what the situation is going to be coming in. So I'm sure they've game planned some kind of way to try to avoid him getting killed by Bosa. Now, whether or not it happens.
With the Niners D-line is they're almost like the Eagles D-line. You got Bosa, then you got Armstead, now you got Hargrave.
Oh, no, I can't. Believe me. I'm not poo-pooing nobody else. I'm not saying Bosa's all you got. What I'm saying is you have the best or one of the best, top three at least, pass rushers going against a backup left tackle, period. Forget everybody else.
Yeah. Matchups, right there.
That needs to be right. That needs to be figured out.
Okay, you got a point there. Ayuk, I was mentioning, I believe, has a shoulder injury. I don't know if he's going to make it tonight. But Jennings has been playing really, really good. And so we've got some wide receivers that Gray. I like Gray's fast. We'll see how they get deployed, and hopefully he won't wear out Debo tonight. Running him left and running him right. I would like to see Debo make it through the season. So I really want to see our running backs get a little more involved in some of that stuff that Debo gets. We'll see if that happens. I don't know.
I'll tell you what they need to do. I like the Niners. I try to get Niner players on my fantasy teams at all points in time. What they need to do is they need to get Elijah Mitchell involved. It takes a little bit off of McCaffrey. It also gives you another option of a guy that can get outside, can run between tackles, and can catch the ball. His talent has to be used.
Well, my favorite Madden running back is Tyrion Davis-Price. He's fast and he's strong. Now Mitchell, you're talking a starter basically, if not Caffrey. And Tyrion, I think, could be a starter, but I don't know if they've been developed to that point yet. So he might, I'm not sure where he's at, but he's fast.
How long has he been on the team? 3 years?
This is like third year. Yeah.
Okay. To me, and I've seen him play in preseason here and there. Although I think I saw him more last year than I did this year. So I don't know if he was injured or what, but usually in a situation like that, where a guy's not getting he's either he's having trouble hitting the holes, or he's having trouble remembering the plays, or he doesn't pass block well. It's usually one of those reasons, if not more than one.
Okay.
Something's holding him back.
Okay.
Because you're right, he is very fast.
Yeah. I mean, man, so we've got a stable. You don't have to beat Debo up. Purdy's very efficient, fundamentally. He's a good fundamental player. And as long as our tight end, as long as he continues to get the ball to Kittle, and understand that that's the weapon right there. I've always wondered whether the coach really realized that. He can set your defense. Where you put Kittle is going to affect the defense. They're going to have to make adjustments, or they're going to get beat all day. So I still think he is as good as Kelce. He just doesn't get used in the way that Kelce gets used, type of quarterback. Especially that quarterback connection that Kelce has with Mahomes, But relative to the plays that we run, you can do a lot with Kittle, and you can make the defense have to double shade to his side or recognize the fact that he's out there somewhere on the left, on the right, in the slot, all those types of things. So I always look to see that, and I think that Purdy does a good job of getting him the ball. All right, Benny. Well, so you're going with the Niners, going against the bias.
I'm going with the bias.
I'm sorry, going with the bias. And we're going to look for a really, really great game tonight. I think it's going to be a good one. I think one thing that came out of last week's game, these boys is hitting. They out there hitting now. And I always say, you might not be the best, the fastest, or you might not execute at the highest level. But in football, if you hit the hardest, you can still win the game.
Football is all about the team that blocks and tackles the best usually wins.
Blocks and tackles.
And blocks and tackles the best and doesn't turn the ball over.
And doesn't turn the ball over. But blocking and tackling effectively is hitting.
Exactly.
Or whether you're tackling, it's
right.
pop that does it. And it can change everything. So looking forward to it. Let's keep those turnovers low. Keep it a clean game, and we'll see how it turns out. All right, Ben and Barry on football signing off with the Thursday night football special.